So now we've got step 22. Step 22 is effectively lots of screwing and putting together the parts that we've made in the previous steps. So the motor, the rails, the chassis rails, the front and rears, with some of the additions of the mounting trays and the suspension mounting and the servo. A little bit of attention on the servo. Servo, you need to, because I'm chassis mounting the servo, so I can bring that into shot. So need to cut 2.5 millimeters off in order for it to fit into the chassis and locates into the chassis. So yeah, so lots of putting together. 16 of the OHSW01505 screws, 5 of the 1503 screws, and 3 of the ball ends. So just literally a bolting together exercise for this particular one. So doing a couple of steps prior to putting everything together as per step 22. So first things first, the servo. Don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I've chopped off 2.5 mil on each end, and yeah, there you go, of the lugs as per the drawing, which is here. Popped in the servo horn, and that needs a 1503 screw and a ball end. So I'm just going to pop let's do the 1503 screws first of all. Come my trusty tweezers. So just screwing this all the way through. And that's done. We'll worry about the centralisation later. And we need one of these ball ends. Pick one of them up with my trusty tweezers, and that goes into the end of the servo horn. There we are. So that's the servo ready for me, and I think what we'll do is put the ball ends into the suspension uprights, so we've got them in the right orientation. So the drawing points out that we've got to put the ball end into the middle of the 3 holes, so we shall do that, and you can sort of see the orientation here, as this is going to fit over the ladder frame of the chassis. So that's that way around. So again, pop it onto the end of this 0.9mm hex driver screwdriver and make some threads through the middle. Like so. Fingertip tight. So that's this side. Do the same again on this side. Orientation, so we're coming in from this side. and that's going to be the middle of the hole. Okay, so now we've got the suspension mounts in the right orientation. So we've got the 1503 screws that will screw through the chassis members to the motor, 2 screws for the motor, and the remaining 1505 screws, which will be 16 of them, we're going to use to screw all these pieces together, noting the orientation of the mounting plates, rear bumper, front bumper, this support beat member as well, and yeah, got lots to screw together. So we'll start with the smaller of the screws and mount the motor into its correct position. So here's one of the rails, and we need to make sure that the 2 1503 screws go through the chassis member and into the motor mount here. So I'm just going to do that now. That's one. Popping the screws on the end of the screwdriver is certainly the right way to go. Feeling for the locating of the screw through the hole. That's it. There we are. Being careful as well. I've got all these little wires for the LEDs to do. So let's, you have to excuse me while I orientate myself because I'm a right-handed person when I'm using the screwdriver. So I'm just going to rotate everything around. And same again on this side. Grab a screw. In fact, stop right there. We need to do one side because you've got the chassis rail itself. So let's proceed on with the rest of the screws. So what I'm going to do for safekeeping, those 1503, 2 1503s I need for the other side, I'm going to pop them back in the bag just for safekeeping, and then we'll carry on with the 1505 screws. As there is 16 in total, I am going to make an educated guess of 8 each side. 4, 6, 8. Seal the bag again so we don't lose them. Okay, so this member will do this next because that's next to, and we'll pop that in. So that's actually the 1505 goes through, this member we put on earlier and then through to this. So being careful of the wires and assuming that this has to locate into the chassis rail. So load my screwdriver up. So looks to me like that's in. Okay, so we'll do the front bumper. It goes up near this front light cluster, and we get the orientation correct. There we are, I think that's correct there. So there's a little lug that goes in. Yeah, just a little test fit just to make sure, so I can pop that in. Let's screw that together. Bit of patience. There we are. So I'm just, here we go. I think we got it. Certainly did. That's in there. I'm just gonna hold the support of the chassis. There we go. And then again, just finger and thumb, bringing that to the point where it's tight. You really do not need to go mad on these tiny tiny little screws. Right, so that's the front bumper. There's a front chassis member. We've done the motor is in position. We'll work our way back now. So there's there we are. So we've got this bottom plate is next. Making sure the battery stop is here, because I think this is the battery tray. And the second one. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Right. So now we've got that suspension turret on there as well now. So just again nip those up, finger tight. Don't want to go too mad. Don't want to break the plastic, strip the plastic, otherwise we'll be in trouble. Okay, now we'll do the rear bumper. So just gently move these small wires around the rear bumper, put it into place, and believe that has the same locating, like a little locating lug that locates into here, and then the screw hole. I believe that's there. And then we've got this top mounting one. Make sure the orientation's correct. Like so. There we are. So effectively that's now one side. Now did I miss a screw? Because I got one left. I counted 8. Let's have a little look. So we've got the front bumper had 1. This had another one. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I didn't miss one, so it's fine. It's probably, so that's fine. Good. So I've got to do the same again on the other side. I'm not going to keep the video running. Why I'll do that? It's the repeat of the steps. And so the last little bit to pop in, probably made this a little bit awkward for myself, but it's going in anyway. And that's the servo into the cross member. And this is the remaining of the 1505 screws. There we go. And there we are. Servo is in. It's a chassis mounted servo. It may need to come out again yet to make sure I've got the servo horn in the right position. We'll see. So that is effectively section 22. There we are. And step 22 we're actually now done, and we can move on to step number 23, and that's simply screwing using the 1203 screws, the mud flaps. So the mud flaps are actually in here, so that's other way around now. So you've got the tray here, so you've got the mud flaps that go in here and in here, 2 screw areas, and mud flaps go on the back of these here and here. So that's a relatively straightforward step, number 23, so no need to show you how to screw those in. So there you go, finished screwing the mud guards on the front and the rear, and that's the mud guards on the front this side, here and here, and the mud guards on the rear here and here. And yeah, had to be very delicate again. So yeah, but there we are, all done. That's now parts bag C completed, and we move on to parts bag D, which is the dampers.